Alright, so the next one doesn't have a office page. Lord Talisman, which I think I read one of the work before when I was checking out this stuff. Maybe. I might be wrong though. I might be wrong. But yeah. Next one is called Technological Rodents. Technological Rodents by Lord Talisman. I've read 211, oh, not too long ago, actually. Didn't find it quite anomalous. Yeah, I understand what you mean, but at the end, any, like, you know, effect where you suddenly hear a voice talk to you, and you're like, oh yeah, the voice is clearly God. Which in the SCP Foundation, like, hearing a voice out of nowhere is, yeah, you could argue, well, that's just schizophrenic, but in the SCP Foundation world, that's never the case. And then, you know, you're suddenly part of a family, and you start calling people who were strangers to you mother, father, aunt, uncles, even though you have absolutely no blood relation to them. It is odd. It might not be the most strongest anomalous effect, but I would still argue, like, if I was missing and you found me in the middle of, like, a house talking to people as if they're my family while my real family is like, it's like, what? What are you doing? I'd be like, yeah, this is my mom. I'd be highly concerned. Okay, here we go. Once again, we're reading Technological Rodents. Let's go. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. All instances of SCP-2114 are to be housed in one of 4 standard terrariums in a soundproof BCL1 room, equipped with an airtight door seal. Terrariums are to be maintained as per standard for domestic rats, with a layer of pine shavings cleaned weekly, a water bottle changed daily, an exercise wheel and standard toys for pet rats. Diet is to be standard nutritional pellets for rodents. All feeding and maintenance is to be carried out by hand. Under no circumstances are automated feeding devices to be used. In the event that the number of instances of SCP-2114 exceeds 30, individual excess instances are to be euthanized and the remains incinerated. Any wild instance of SCP-2114 are to be destroyed. Male and female instances are to be kept strictly quarantined from each other except in the case of approved testing. Offspring of the original instance possess the same anomalous traits as their parents. All tests involving SCP-2114 are to take place in rooms sealed from the outside. Said testing rooms are not to be unsealed until all instances are contained or destroyed. Description: SCP-2114 is the designation for the colony of Rattus novicus, originally discovered in a laboratory in 2000. They were acquired by Foundation agents pursuing reports of anomalous radioactivity and an outbreak of auditory hallucinations. The laboratory in question appeared to have been abandoned for less than days. Investigation revealed that the laboratory was owned by Incorporated, but the company agents denied all knowledge of the location and its contents. The laboratory appeared to have been hastily stripped of all identifying material as much of its equipment. All of the remaining equipment was in a state of disrepair, as if it had been partially disassembled and / or destroyed. Per fully see document -A. When found, only instances SCP-2114 were alive, along with the material remains of additional instances. All the instances were died with a 2-digit number on the back from 2, inconclusive, and 2, inconclusive, to suggest at least instances remain unaccounted for. Ben, we just missed like the haunted skull. I mean, you saw the image of the Leoparidon, but you missed like the haunted skull, like what it actually does, which was like, you know, doing haunted shit, making you see figures, making you see hallucinations. Yes. Potentially putting you in cardiac arrest if shit goes real bad. Instances of SCP-2114 appear physically identical to the common white laboratory rat and display normal behavior for the species. Examination has revealed no anomalous anatomical features, although slightly elevated levels of acetylcholine were present. It is assumed that SCP-2114 is cross-fertile with non-anomalous rats, but it is unknown whether the anomalous properties will be passed on to any offspring. Testing is pending approval of site director. When introduced to any sort of mechanism with complex moving parts, all instances will begin to examine it via vision, taste, and touch, including pause and vibrissae? Nuke! How do you say this? After an examination period of 5 to 10 minutes. The instance will proceed to disassemble the mechanism, unscrewing screws and bolts, prying apart casings, disconnecting wires, and otherwise undoing all connections. SCP-2114 has been observed to use the minimum amount of force necessary to disassemble the target mechanism, and damage to the mechanism is rare and usually minor. Instances of SCP-2114 will cooperate to disassemble the target mechanism, displaying unusual levels of coordination, thus enabling them to manipulate objects too large and complex for a single rat. Cool. The rat is it's just pink. It's just the brain. It's the brain from Pink in the Brain. If SCP-2114 finds himself unable to effectively disassemble a mechanism, they may attempt minor control damage. For example, soldered wires will be bitten through, and glued seams may be gnawed. In such cases, SCP-2114 appears to focus on gaining access to all significant areas of the mechanism as opposed to complete disassembly. This one. Is it vibrissae? Vibrissae? I have no idea how that's pronounced. In such cases, SCP-2114 appears to focus on gaining access to all. Once the target mechanism has been disassembled, all present instances of SCP-2114 will examine the individual components with noses, paws, tongues, and vibrissae. Okay, so it is vibrissae, gotcha. Passing them back and forth among each other. This second examination period is usually of similar length to the initial 5 to 10 minute period, though it may be longer in the case of larger mechanism. Once the secondary examination period has been completed, SCP-2114 will proceed to disassemble the target mechanism. As with the disassembly process, all present instances will work together to reattach wires, insert pegs, and otherwise return the mechanism to its original state. In cases where SCP-2114 is physically unable to return the mechanism to its original state, it will be made as close as possible. For example, soldered wires that have been bitten off will be bent so it has to maintain contact with the original contact points. Once the target mechanism has been reassembled to the best of SCP-2114's ability, the collective instances will appear to lose interest and resume normal rodent behavior. You could also say whisker, you know? Not sure what you're saying that to. Oh, okay, that's the other word for vibrissae is whiskers. Gotcha. But these rats are just like, you know, they just tear things apart and they're like, interesting. Let's build it back up. Test log. Date 2000. Test mechanism: 1 electric shock. 1 electric clock radio. Test subject: 6 adult instances. Result: SCP-2114 disassembled, examined, and reassembled clock radio. Clock radio operated normally when plugged in. Total elapsed time: 43 minutes. Date: 2000. Test mechanism: 1 electric clock radio, which was then struck by Agent Alexander with the wooden mallet until it ceased to function and showed significant damage to plastic housing. Test subject: 6 adult instances. Results: SCP-2114 examined, disassembled, and reassembled clock radio. Damage to housing was not repaired, and broken fragments of housing were ignored. When plugged in, clock function operated normally, but radio would not receive any known stations. Instead, radio produced a high-pitched tone reminiscent of a theremin which changed in the pitch as different stations were selected. Further testing pending. Total elapsed time 56 minutes. Date 2000. Test mechanism, 1 electric clock radio. Give them something new, goddamn! Which had been disassembled into its component pieces. Test subject 6. Oh! Somebody follow me. Clam Boy D3. Welcome to the Fluff, my man. Welcome to the Fluff. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Hell yeah. Sorry I sound a bit exhausted. I've been busy, been a busy day, and now I'm only, after this one, I just reached the halfway point of today's reading stream. SCP-2114 examined and reassembled clock radio, which operated normally when plugged in. Oh, okay, so they just examined the thing and was like, well, we just need to build it now. 28 minutes. Date 2000. Test mechanism, random assortment of components gleaned from 1 electric clock radio, 1 non-functional cellular telephone, 1 electric space heater, and 1 coffee maker. So like different components to see if the little rats can figure it out. Test subject 6 adult instances. Results: SCP-2114 examined components for an unusually long time, 90 minutes, before proceeding to reassembly stage. Collective components were assembled into a single mechanism of unknown functions. Oh. Okay. Approximately 75% of available components were used, remaining 25% were ignored after initial examination period. When powered, the mechanism produced a high-pitched whining sound, but no other functions were apparent. Further testing pending. Total elapsed time 46 minutes. Note: researcher Deep reported experiencing a sudden case of tinnitus during the final 9 minutes of this test. Well, shit. But yeah, I guess it makes sense. It's like if they don't take it apart and you just give them random components, they're just like, well, we just built a giant piece of machinery. Like if they would take all of it apart, I'm pretty sure they would fix it back normally. But since they never took something apart, they just like combined the whole thing. 2000. 1 Nokia brand cordless house telephone and 1 Hewlett Packard brand desktop printer, both disassembled and the components mixed together. Test subject 6 adult instances. Results: SCP-2114 examined components for 37 minutes before commencing reassembly. Instances assembled available components into a single mechanism of unknown function. Approximately 85% of available components were used, remaining 50% were ignored after the initial examination period. When powered, the mechanism produced a pulsing noise that quickly cycled up beyond the human hearing range. Further testing pending. Total elapsed time 88 minutes. Note: mild headaches and tinnitus reported by nearby staff within approximately 15 minutes of this test. A lot of tinnitus. A lot of tinnitus happening. Date 2000. Test mechanism: 1 Dell brand laptop computer, non-functional due to faulty motherboard. Test subject 6 adult instances. Result: SCP-2114 examined, disassembled, and reassembled computer. Minor damage to housing noted due to gnawing required to gain access. When powered, computer operated normally. Total elapsed time 67 minutes. Note: how on earth did they do that? How did these little rat bastards fix my computer? Date 2000. Test mechanism 2003. Red Volkswagen in fair condition. That's the biggest one they get to experience. Test subject 12 adult instances. Result: SCP-2114 initially ignored vehicle, but after approximately 8 minutes began exhibiting interest. Instances examined vehicle for 132 minutes before apparently losing interest again. However, after a brief pause for normal feeding, instances returned to vehicle and began disassembly. Per Agent Alexander's order, standard food and water for SCP-2114 was provided and room was sealed. Test continued via video surveillance. After approximately 3 hours, vehicle was observed visibly leaning to one side as if it had sustained damage to the left front wheel. After 8 hours, vehicle was in clear state of disassembly, with engine components scattered over the floor. After 17 hours, vehicle appeared completely disassembled, save for body and frame. After 21 hours, instances were observed transporting components on the body of disassembled vehicle. Assume reassembly has begun. After 26 hours, flashing red lights were visible through opening of vehicle body. After 30 hours, nearby individuals began reporting tinnitus, mild headaches, and one case of sudden nausea. Test ended and all instances of SCP-2114 returned to normal habitats. A partially assembled mechanism was found on the body of the vehicle, consisting of approximately 20% of available components, excluding body and frame. The mechanism was powered by the vehicle's 12-volt battery. When power was removed, associated symptoms ceased. Further testing pending. Total elapsed time 30 hours. Test results classified and the password to access. Yeah, give me the other one, the big one. Date 2000. Test mechanism: 1 Dell brand laptop computer, 1 Sony brand stereo / CD player, assorted electronic components. See list. Test subjects: 6 adult instances. Result: SCP-2114 examined components and proceeded to disassemble computer and stereo. Instances examined all components for 23 minutes before commencing reassembly. Instances assembled components into a single mechanism of unknown function. Approximately 80 of available components used, remaining 20% were ignored after initial examination period. When powered, nearby personnel reported tinnitus and mild headaches. Mechanism power provided by a laptop battery and 6 D-cell batteries from stereo. The instance then appeared to lose interest in mechanism. When testing room was opened, all nearby personnel reported sudden severe headaches and researcher B collapsed. Strong interference noted in electronic devices as far as meters away, and personnel as far as meters away reported auditory hallucinations, including screaming, a high-pitched whining sound, and wailing. SCP became agitated at this time, resulting in abducted. Agent Alexander entered the testing room and attempted to, without success, to disengage the mechanism from its power supply. Failing this, Agent Alexander and researcher Simons physically assaulted the mechanism, knocking it on its side and doing significant damage, which ultimately disengaged the power supply headaches. Headaches, electronic interference, and auditory hallucinations subsided within 5 minutes. Researcher B was taken to medical and pronounced dead on arrival of a severe stroke. Total elapsed time 21 minutes. Further testing suspended by order of Site Director Richardson pending review. Yeah, I mean, at first it was cute that they, took things apart and rebuilt it, but then, they started making everybody have tinnitus and massive headache attacks, which you could argue is not as fun. Not as great, not as good to go through. You could argue that. So maybe a good idea to stop them from having their hands on more mechanism, because they will definitely create some health hazard.